That radio chick Cheryl Lee here with you. Welcome to the Still Rocking It podcast, where we'll have music, news, reviews and interviews with some of your favourite Australian musicians and artists. Today we are a fly on the wall during the filming of an interview I held recently with Damien Kelly for the tele. Damien was lead singer of heavy rock pub band from the 80s Almost Human, who supported Judas Priest, Whitesnake, Cheap Trick. He was Jimmy Barnes' tour manager. He drove AC/DC and INXS and is now lead singer for Irish folk band Kelly's Wayke, who sell out shows wherever they appear. We'll hear about Damien's journey from heavy rock to Irish music and back again as Almost Human, near releasing an album of previously unpublished works. What's Damien Kelly been up to lately? Let's find out. You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. Welcome to Mega Music TV. We're here in a beautiful rehearsal space belonging to 80s, 90s, Almost Human megastar, Damien Kelly. Thank you for having us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's my space.
We've got a lot to talk about. You have had some sort of rock and roll life, have you not?
It has. It's been quite an incredible journey, really. It's been awesome.
Well, let's start at the start.
Yeah.
In the 80s and 90s, Almost Human, you supported Whitesnake, Cheap Trick. You were legends Priest. In your own lunchtime.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it initially started in about 1979, just late 79, early 80s. And it was just a bunch of us got together and we were just Kiss fans and Cheap Trick, Status Quo, all that sort of stuff. And then we decided, let's put a band together around it. Actually, the band was already existed. Louis had started the band. And then we all sort of just started playing together and it sort of just clicked. Then we started playing and then we started writing music and we became quite prolific at writing. And over those first 3 years, from about 80 to about 83, the band just got this incredible following. We started out just like playing little pubs, to 20 or 30 people and then ended up at the Bridgeway with 15, 1,800 people. It was.
I think I was one of them.
Yeah, it was just like headbangers and it was just, but it was the time for live music. The 80s was just so.
Wasn't it?
So incredible,
And also, I remember this great video I've seen on YouTube of 83, you guys performing a gig on the riverbank there at Elder Park.
Elder Park, yeah. That was filmed by a guy from Melbourne called Lee Lemmy Wilson. I think he came over to see Almost Human that year. He came over from Melbourne 25 times and filmed us. He was a bit obsessed with the band.
Bit of a super fan.
He was absolutely a super fan, but a lovely guy. And he filmed that day, and he actually caught something quite magical that day. I mean, I think there was around about 5,000 people there. It was just, and I don't know, everything just seemed to click, and those gigs are, bands play all the time, but every now and again a gig clicks. And that gig was one of them. It was, it was just such a great day.
I loved watching it. And you know what else I noticed? You and I both have our same hairdo from the 80s.
I know. But, I always thought, people always say to me, why don't you get your hair cut? And they said it to me for years. And I thought to myself, if I get my hair cut, I'm just going to look like everybody else, And I found long hair, it's my identity. And I felt comfortable with it, regardless of the time frame and different trends and stuff like that. It doesn't bother me, that sort of stuff.
Same.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm comfortable.
Now, you guys had a great hit, an EP, Hold On, that was like 10 weeks in the top 40.
Yeah, we wrote the song and Louis' father did the artwork. Pedro, he was an artist, did the artwork for the EP and we released it. And it debuted at, I think, about 38 or 5 or something, and then went to, I think it got to about 28 and stayed in the charts for 10 weeks in the top 40. And it was even in the top 100. I think it got to about 81 in the top 100 in Australia in the ARIA charts. So it was great, and we did the film clip for it at the Bridgeway Hotel. So you can see that when you see the clip. Yeah, it was great. It was a real achievement for us.
Still Rockin' It podcast with that radio chick Cheryl Lee. Let's have a listen to that hit now. Hold On, Almost Human. We'll chat a little bit more with Damien Kelly about what he's up to now in a little bit. yourself personally, Damien, have been in a couple of other bands as well, States and Big Secret. And Big Secret had a top 10 hit in the top 10 too.
Yes, that was...
for 10 weeks.
Yeah, in 91, I reckon 1991, Big Secret released their first single, which was Big Secret's self-titled single. And right when we released it, we managed to get the support for AC/DC, the Balls to the Wall tour. Because we were like playing to like 10,000 people a night, you know, it really just elevated the song, and we once again had a top 40 hit. And it stayed in the charts for about 10 weeks. So
any secrets you can tell us about the AC/DC tour that you won't get killed for spilling?
Well, you know, actually, I must say they were very gracious, because a lot of big bands will just give you a certain amount of stuff. But AC/DC were one of these bands where they gave us all the sound. And I think they were a little bit thrown off because the front of house technician guy we used was actually a lady. And I came and introduced her to them, and they sort of went, "It's a girl." I said,
It's a chick.
Yeah, it's a chick. And that sort of threw them off a bit, and they just gave her everything.
Oh, you're ahead of your time.
Yeah,
well
absolutely,
done.
yeah. And
She
was a wonderful front of house tech. And so, Big Secret used her for all our gigs. Yeah, and then of course Big Secret, they also supported Jimmy Barnes, Mick Fleetwood Zoo with Billy Thorpe and Mick Fleetwood. We did Noiseworks. There was like this big purple patch of bands we supported, and it was great. It was a really good time.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
Just a reminder, we are a fly on the wall today at the filming of an interview with Almost Human's lead singer, Damien Kelly. Coming up soon, we'll hear all about the band he plays with to sell out crowds all over the state. And what's the scoop with Almost Human?
Take 5, 4, 3. Just move your hand.
I always do it. I always talk with my hand like that. I don't know why.
It's the Italian
I just do
in
it.
him.
Well, exactly. Can you tell by the accent? It's all Italian neat.
5, 4, 3.
We're back with Damien Kelly on Mega Music TV. Apart from the fabulous bands that you've been involved in, and we've got to talk about Kelly's Wayke coming up too, but you also had a very exciting life as a rock band super driver.
Yeah, absolutely, a super driver. That's the first time I've been called a super driver. I just sort of stumbled across it initially. And the first band I ever drove was AC/DC, believe it or not. I drove them out at Globe Derby, where they had the riots after they finished playing. And I always remember after the show, we got in this 12-seater and they were in the back, and I was driving through all this dust and crowd and everything. We had police escort out on Port Wakefield Road. It was amazing. Yeah, I always remember it. It was that was my first gig ever. And then the last artist I ever drove was Ozzy Osbourne. And I drove him in Adelaide when he came through with Black Sabbath, which was great because I'd driven Ozzy 3 times before. But in between those two acts, I pretty much have driven or worked for nearly every artist.
Every
artist that's come through.
Yeah.
And you know, it's remarkable, but some of them do remember you when they come through second or third time. And then some they don't. But I've made some many great friends who still tour to this day. And when you go overseas, sometimes you'll meet them overseas and hang out, and it's friendships. I've made a lot of friendships out of rock and roll.
Rock and roll friendships.
Yeah, and it's been a wonderful journey in that aspect. But I've loved it, because it's you're always talking to people, like-minded people. They've got similar interests. Music is such a great thing to bring people together.
Unifier.
And it does,
We'll have a little look at your amazing collection of tour passes, backstage passes, but it was like INXS and ZZ Top, Dire Straits. You're right, the list is phenomenal.
It just goes on and on. I don't know. It's funny because when I show people the passes, they sort of, it is quite confronting because they sort of go, wow, like,
oh my God.
What the hell's going on here? But for me, I just it sort of almost just sits in the back of my mind. I don't really realise what I've done because at the time it was just like work, and it was just a different job, a job I really did enjoy sometimes.
I bet.
But sometimes, God, I hated it. like, 4 o'clock in the morning,
Cleaning up vomit?
But it was good,
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Still Rocking It podcast with that radio chick Cheryl Lee. Let's have a break now and a song from AC/DC. Big Secret supported them on the Balls to the Wall tour, and they were the first band that Damien drove around when they came to Adelaide. Let's have the 1979 title track of the Highway to Hell album, Highway to Hell. And did that then lead into the tour managing?
Yeah. So then I started working, was the assistant tour manager for Jimmy Barnes on the Jimmy Works Live tour. Then started work for a company called ATM and was tour managing their stuff for them back in the early 90s. That was The Angels, Icehouse. And then I did, the last band I tour managed or went on the road with, that was a band called Jesus Jones, who were a British band at the time. They were pretty big with Right Here, Right There, or whatever it's called. And that was the last time I really toured with bands, just drive them from then on.
Yeah. I've interviewed quite a lot of people on the radio, including you, but I haven't interviewed Jimmy Barnes yet. And I would like to do that before I die. So can you get your people to speak to my people to speak to his people and fix that up for me?
Wow, Jimmy, he's normally pretty accessible though. Yeah, no, look, I mean,
You've got the contact.
Well, I did have.
Now, moving along, the fabulous band that you're in at the moment is completely different, really, to Almost Human, but just as wonderful to watch and listen to and see live. Tell us about Kelly's Wayke.
Oh, wow.
Where do you start?
Well, where do I start? I mean, this is the true story, and this is how it came together. Because I had actually stepped back from playing live music for a while, after Almost Human's second go there in 2009. And I thought, no, I'll sort of give it a break. And then we had a wake for a family friend called Mick Murphy, and he was a friend of the Kellys and the Murphys. And normally at a wake, an Irish wake, you'd sing songs, songs that parents taught us when we were kids, and then favourite songs, it could be Beatles or whatever. But it's a celebration.
Well, it's a celebration, that's right.
And then we were just in this little function room next to the front bar in this hotel, and we were just strumming away, for hours, drinking and strumming. And then the publican came in, and we thought he was going to kick us out. And we said, oh, sorry. He goes, oh, no. He said, we've turned off the jukebox hours ago. He said, we've been listening to you guys all night. And I thought, So I thought about it, and then the next day I rang up Pad and Brian and that, and I said, maybe we should put a band together around these old songs, and just Kelly's Wayke just sprang out of nowhere. And I think it's actually a wonderful, wonderful band for just bringing joy to people and happiness, I know it's completely the opposite to what I do or what I did prior, like the heavy metal stuff. But I still think the overall message is just enjoy yourself, and
live in the moment.
Live in the moment and love life,
And drink whiskey.
Yeah, drink whiskey, whatever it takes your fancy.
Wine.
Yeah, red wine. But yeah, no, Kelly's is great, like it's a rehearsal is a couple of pizzas and 2 or 3 bottles of wine. I mean, when we recorded the first album, it was, the first session was 5 bottles of red, and the second session was 4 bottles of red, then a bottle of whiskey. And it was just, we had the dogs in the recording studio, and it's a very, very family, community-based band, And it's there's no egos, there's no agendas, it's just people loving to play music.
Yeah.
And
it's really organic. I remember Kelly's Wayke were actually the very first band that I interviewed for Mega Music TV way back in Series 1. And you guys just made it so much fun. You're such a great bunch of guys. I don't know, we had a couple of Barrys, a couple of extra fill-in Barrys.
I know, because the gig we played on the weekend, Paddy had an eye operation on Thursday, so he couldn't play. So then the fiddle player's boyfriend, he came up and he played bass, and we had Gary Burrows playing drums because Barry's got away. It's just
Barry.
Oh, it was serious. It was like, whoa. And it was sometimes it was like a runaway train, It was like, where is this going? But it was great.
But that's the best,
yeah.
isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was, and people loved it,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that's true because wherever you play all over Adelaide, you sell out every time. Adelaide does love you.
Yeah, I don't know how it is, but it's happened. And I suppose people just want to, I mean, it's been a tough couple of years, you know, and people just want to forget about all the shit, you know, and they just want to enjoy themselves again. Go out and see a live act, but feel good about it, you know, not have to sort of feel inhibited. Just, you know, if they want to sing along, sing. If they want to dance, dance. I mean, you know, because for a couple of years there, they weren't allowed to do anything, you know, so they've really responded to you know, bands just playing again. Not just Kelly's Wayke, but lots of bands, you know.
Oh, that's for sure. I think we're loving being able to see live music again as much as you guys, the performers, are loving getting out there and performing again.
And playing again, yeah, absolutely. And not only that, I think when you get that sort of reward from people, it inspires you to write new music as well and learn new music. It's a really great revolving door, you know, because the more positive feedback you get from people and the audience, the more it inspires you to do more and make
creativity.
It more fun. Absolutely, it's great. Yeah.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
Time, I think, for a song from Kelly's Wayke. How about Whiskey or the Devil? Ain't that the truth? We'll listen to more of the Mega Music TV interview with Damien Kelly, lead singer of Kelly's Wayke and Almost Human, again shortly.
Hey, whiskey or the devil, you're leading me astray.
Speaking of new music, that's a pretty good segue.
Yeah, look at that.
Well done, Damien. Into the new improved or the new Almost Human.
Oh, yes. Well, there's another one.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they've got two projects on the go at the moment. There's the new Almost Human album, which will be called Full of Fight. It'll have 24 tracks. It'll probably be a double album. These are songs that we wrote when we were about 17, 18, right up to, you know, about mid-20s. So these are like about 24 songs that we've re-recorded.
And they've never been released before?
Never been released. So it's going to be great.
We've got the scoop.
Yeah.
You've heard it first here.
Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, and so I went back in the studio and did that with Almost Human. But I tell you, that was hard to do, sing heavy metal after singing Irish stuff. The vocal is quite different. That was pretty interesting in itself. It was exciting because I was singing all these old songs. I mean, half the lyrics are quite politically incorrect now, you know, because we were only kids, you know, we were just like singing whatever we wanted to.
And it was a different time.
Yeah, but I can guarantee that I haven't changed any of the words because I want people to realise that was what was going on right then and there.
Good.
You know, and, you know, there's nothing too gnarly anyway, you know.
Who are the members now?
What this is look at an anthology really of all the members, you know, like David and myself, Louis, who was the founding member, Chris Tucker, Chris Tennant, spent some time with Super Jesus and stuff. Howard Kell, who's passed away now, who's the drummer. And then we had Michael Dryden. We just go through all these people who have been involved in it. So it'll be basically a collaboration of all these people, you know, and their contributions. So we'll sort of try and make it inclusive of everybody, but not only them as well, but people like Sue, people like Lemmy Wilson, Greta. You know, these are people who are involved on the side who really made the band bring it up a level or a notch to what it was. So there's a lot of people involved, and I sort of want to, you know, recognise all those people that helped or were involved and just part of it, because it was a special time, you know. It was a really cool time to be alive and in a band like that, where the energy was just like incredible. It was electric. It was one of those times that you just can't explain it, you know. It's like trying to say, having a conversation with someone, you know, when you say, getting on stage and singing is quite a great thing, and then you try and sort of equivalent to a drug that you can take that would have the same effect, and you can't.
It's like that meme. We might be old, but we saw all the best bands.
Yeah. it's true. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Dave Kennedy on stage at the Bridgeway not that long ago when the boys were stuck in town during COVID.
Yeah.
It was great to see him back on the stage again.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility of a live after the album?
I might do one show, just for old time's sakes, but I mean, it's a high energy music, and that's the problem. But we have been asked to play a festival next year. So we're sort of thinking about maybe just because they sort of bring us on as a vintage metal band, But the band, but the guy who's running the festival is really keen because he wants to show what an older 80s heavy metal band was like in the back in the day.
Will they truck you in on the back of a truck like...
Well, probably wheelchairs. Wheelchairs, walking frames. Oh, come on. You'll need like a disabled ramp.
Scooter.
Yeah, exactly.
Mobility scooter.
Awesome. That'd be great.
I'm there. I'll be there with my walking stick.
No, it's really great. I'd like to do it. So it's just a matter of getting all the puzzle together. When you're dealing with bands, you're always dealing with different individuals, so it's always like a bit of a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
But
Well, good luck getting all that together.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'd love to see it. I just wanted to say thank you for all that music over all those years, and thank you for coming along today and chatting.
I haven't finished yet. Oh, no, I mean, I'm still going to go. I'm still going to write music, and it's a wonderful journey. It's only just starting. And I'm finding actually now that because I'm older, I'm trying to fit more in. And I think the more you try and fit in when you're older, the less time seems to go faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
Because when you're younger, it's just like, I don't give a shit, time just goes, I'll get it to it tomorrow.
We've not got forever anymore.
Like you're over the speed hump now, Yeah.
Although we were talking earlier, we're still only 21. Times two plus.
Well, that's right. It's true, I mean, I remember talking to an old guy once, and he was telling me, he said, I might be 80, he said, but, he said, remember, the penis is always 21.
I'll drink to that. Thanks so much for coming and chatting with us and filling us in on everything Almost Human and Kelly's Wayke today.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks for having me.
Cut. Do you want to throw to the clip?
You want to throw to the clip?
Still Rockin' It podcast with that radio chick, Cheryl Lee.
Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed being a fly on the wall during the filming of this Mega Music TV episode. We're going to go out with one of Damien's favourite Almost Human songs from the self-titled Almost Human album, Do or Die. You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. Thank you so much for joining me on the Still Rocking It podcast. Hope to catch you again next time. Get out when you can, support Aussie music, and I'll see you down the front.